So, hello, my name is John Richards. I'm a technical product manager for VMware. I work on the Apple platform team, and so I focus mostly on the macOS EMM side. I started in the engineering side of things. I was actually a quality engineer, and I did a lot of the MDM testing in the early days for iOS, and then kind of branched out to Mac over the past 2 years, and then realized I wanted to be more than just building the product. I wanted to, take it to the future. So that's what I've been doing for the past few years now. I am on the Mac admin Slack. My handle is JR. You might recognize the Hobbs logo. That's my favorite comic growing up. I also have a Twitter that I need to get better at using it, but that's my Twitter handle. So I wanted to start off today with kind of a cliche statement, but it really is true that our world is changing underneath our feet. As we're seeing this week here at WWDC, a lot of things are being announced. Apple's making a lot of changes to the platform and how things are working under the hood, and so that means a lot of different things for our workflows in our organization. But it's more than just the platform itself. It's also our workforce that's changing. Our workforce is becoming more mobile than ever. They want to work from Starbucks. They want to work from home. Want to be able to choose, iPad Pro or a Windows machine or a Mac machine. You still need access to all these different resources, and in a way that's not overbearing and Big Brother. Because if you have unhappy end users, they're not going to be productive end users, and they might want to circumvent those tools and IT management capabilities you have, and that's not good from a security perspective, of course. So what the trend that has been in the industry that we've been seeing over the past year is the end user experience has become really important, and tools like DP Notify and Slash Buddy have been really awesome in helping people achieve that. As we're working on designing these new experiences and trying to create this really perfect workflow of UI, something like this happens. And that kind of sets things back a little bit. And as we all know, there's been a lot of different ways to manage macOS devices for the past few years, past decade, with scripts, cron jobs, at launch jobs, MCX profiles, et cetera. There hasn't really been a need for MDM yet until just very recently. And so Apple's been working on MDM for the past probably 6 years now when they shipped with iOS. Pretty robust protocol. And there's a few commands that came from Mac, but it wasn't yet enough to cause anybody to want to use it. So over time, they've been iterating on it and adding more and more commands and more samples. DP came along. VPP, if you have one of those 3 apps that are in the App Store, you can use that. But it wasn't until about 2017 with APFS that things started to really change under the hood, and we had to start rethinking what we're doing. And APFS brought a lot of great security and performance, and things like that. But the biggest thing I think that affects a lot of us in this room today is that imaging is going to be challenging. And then if you're using something called, if you're using an MDM, then maybe you have to deal with something user-approved MDM and user-approved kernel extension loading. So all these things are happening while we're trying to move into this modern paradigm of management and create these great end-user experiences. But it's been kind of a challenge going forward. So we kind of have to rethink the way that we're doing things in all aspects, in the deployment and provisioning, the configuration and apps, and then as all these devices are moving outside of our corporate perimeter, we have to make sure that they have that level of access and security on top of it. What the most important thing to keep in mind going forward is that MDM is going to be needing in the core of what you do. You want to use that to kind of attest the device to make sure that it's secure, and then anything that MDM can't do on top of that, that's when you start layering those services like Monkey or Chef, Puppet, OS Query, just an example, and then add on the identity and access management. So I wanted to stop there real quick and explain why I'm here. I'm from VMware, and this being a DevOps conference, I know a lot of people know what VMware does from a virtualization standpoint. Maybe you've heard of Workspace ONE or AirWatch. Maybe you know what that is, maybe you don't. But I wanted to first give a quick explanation of what that is. So Workspace ONE is actually a platform that's comprised of multiple VMware products. It starts with Horizon, which has been around for a while, that's really good at virtualizing apps and instances. And then AirWatch, which was acquired a little over 4 years ago, that's good at managing physical devices, iOS devices, Android devices. And over the past few years, we've been expanding into all kinds of devices, Windows, Mac, Coke Freestyle machines, the warehouse scanners, everything that we can do, and that's something that the UEM, Unified Endpoint Management Strategy. And then on top of that, we have an identity manager called VIDM. You can use it as an identity provider, but most people use it kind of to federate access from their existing identity providers. And you might have heard at Octane just last week that VMware announced a whole new partnership with Okta, and so that'll be, we're tightening up the integration there to also allow conditional access and all the things that Okta provides. And then also last year at VMworld, we announced something called Worksys One Intelligence, which is a cloud-based analytics, reporting, decision automation platform. And it's essentially ingesting all the data points from Horizon, from AirWatch, from Identity Manager, and it allows you to create automation and contextual actions based on certain parameters, and also some really cool reporting and dashboards that help you have insights into how your rollout of your applications are going, or if, for example, like WannaCry to see where the patching of your devices are. So all of this is comprised into the Workspace ONE platform. But when you're thinking about this modern management paradigm of deployment, provisioning, configurations, and apps, that's more on the AirWatch side of things. So if we want to take a look at AirWatch, it goes back to what I was saying with MDM in our core. That's our foundation. We started in the iOS space, building the MDM protocol, so it was really easy to work on the same thing for Mac. And so that's our baseline. We use that as our source of truth to attest the device to make sure it's managed. So the point to make here is that our agent isn't required for management. It's something you would add on top if you need extra capabilities that MDM doesn't provide. And then we also have a tunnel app that can do per-app VPN tunneling. And then if you want to add anything else on top of that, if you don't like the way that MDM does profiles, maybe you want to use Chef or Puppet, and so you can add on those services on top. So it's hard to move to this MDM mindset, and of course DP is the big one that a lot of people are looking at to move away from their imaging workflows. And if you're not familiar with DP, it provides some pretty cool features like customized setup assistant out of the box, allows you to streamline that enrollment, give the end users kind of a nice native look and feel as they enroll. There's something called await configuration that allows you to push apps or policies down and hold the user in that setup assistant process to make sure that they aren't continuing through until everything's been applied. And we've been using that for a while to deliver our agent as well, but something that we recently opened up is what we call as Bootstrap package. You might think of it as custom DP that allows you to push down some tools during the await configuration phase to kind of help replace that imaging workflow. And this is something that actually we didn't think of. It was something that one of y'all thought of while kind of thinking about how vendors like us are using the command to install our agent. Hey, rather than waiting for the agent to be installed and then install our packages, why don't we switch it up to install any arbitrary package? And as you might have guessed, that person was Eric Gomez. He wrote a pretty great blog series on it and how he's been using the tool. And it's pretty cool that the different things that can come out of it once you have these tools being delivered during Setup Assistant. And one of the cool things that we've done about Bootstrap packages, because speed is the most important thing, to have these tools installed as fast as possible, we wanted to add a little bit more integrations on top with CDN so that no matter where the device is coming from, it's going to be receiving that package from the closest location and trying to get it installed before Setup Assistant completes. Now, there are a few caveats with Bootstrap package. If you've ever used the install application command, there isn't much feedback from the command. It just says if it's acknowledged or not. So that becomes a problem if you're trying to push large packages. You want to know what the download progress is or the install progress. So we recommend not using it for Office or Adobe products. You really want to use it for your Monkey, your Chef, your critical tools that need to be running underneath the hood. And then also one that's been affecting, I think a lot of people have been pushing multiple Bootstrap packages. It's a little bit unreliable, sending two commands at the same time. It seems like only one is going to actually install, despite both of them responding as acknowledged. So that's been something that's pretty tough, but Eric Gomez came to the rescue again, and he wrote a really cool tool called Install Applications, not confusing at all. And it's just one single distribution package that's a script that's pulling down all of his packages and installing those. And so that's a way that he can move his imaging workflow, take all those tools that he was putting in his image, and now deploying them through the DP. And then also, I wanted to give a shout out real quick to VMware Code. We spent a lot of time on this and trying to understand what this command can do, what the different use cases that can be unlocked by using this command. So we have some pretty detailed documentation on our VMware code website. It's also replicated on GitHub, and it gives a pretty technical deep dive into exactly what's going on with these MDN commands to help you understand exactly how to work around it. But of course, installing these tools on Setup System is not everything. You need to still install these apps and configure the apps, patch these apps. So we've had software management for a while in AirWatch, but it really wasn't good from a macOS standpoint. It didn't have the flexibility that you needed. There's so many different package installers out there, and so you need flexibility in how these tools worked in order to install them. And so we were, about a year and a half ago, we kind of went back to the drawing board to see what we needed to do to either fix our existing solution or enhance it and, to make it better. And we were talking to a lot of people in the community, not just our customers, and we were just trying to figure out what you guys are using right now and how you're using it. And the same word kept coming up over and over again, and that was Monkey. And so finally, after a lot of internal discussion, we decided that Monkey was the best for deploying macOS packages. It's been around for, I think, a decade now. All the different corner cases and edge cases with these, kind of package installers that are doing some weird things, or they're not updating the receipts, or they're chowning for the user and then loading helpers. All of that stuff is handled by Monkey natively. And so what we did is we've been spending a long time on this over the past year. We've integrated kind of our first version today. It's in AirWatch 9.3. And so I know a lot of you guys are probably curious exactly how we're using Monkey, so I wanted to go a little bit deeper into that. So this is kind of our architecture under the hood for the agent. We're actually delivering a forked version of Monkey, and we have a Monkey controller that is orchestrating all of the bits and pieces on the device itself. So it's setting up a local repository, manipulating local manifests and catalogs. It's also talking to the AirWatch server and determining where to download the file from, whether from CDN or the server itself. And then once it sets all this stuff up, it just invokes Monkey, does a manage software update run, and Monkey takes care of the rest. So the key thing about this is that we didn't want to modify Monkey that much. We wanted to let it remain as powerful as it currently is. So we've just been kind of doing, plugging pipes into different holes and making sure everything works. Now, there are some caveats with Monkey. Right now, the forked version is 3.03. That's what we started on last year and have been developing on it and testing, and that's been working pretty well for us. But of course, Monkey is iterating, and there's bug fixes and more features that have been adding over time. So we realized we need to make sure that we keep up with that in our own release cadences. So going forward, we're going to start, being more mindful about that and updating Monkey to make sure that we have the latest features. Because whether we have it integrated in our console or not, it still is the same Monkey under the hood. And so anything that you can push down to it, Monkey will be able to accept it. And second, all the applications are currently handled under manage installs. We're using the Monkey controller to move the app in and out of manage installs or into manage uninstalls depending on the assignment. So right now we don't have anything like manage updates or unattended uninstalls. So that's been working pretty well for us so far, but we're definitely keeping a look on the different ways that we could use that. But the most important thing we wanted to focus on were the PKG info keys. This is one of the biggest gaps in our existing implementation, was the ability to define scripts or verify actions after the installer, or even have special uninstall scripts. So that was one of the first things we focused on adding, the restart actions, and then we wanted to add that additional level of scoping that Monkey provides with conditions. So we have a freeform text box to allow you to use those for right now. And then lastly, I know a lot of you love Managed Software Center because that's part of what makes Monkey great. We've actually pivoted a little bit there, and we're using a native Workspace ONE app, which is something I'll go into in just a second. But this is a native app that's built for all the platforms that we manage, and the idea is to be a unified experience so that if you're a user that has multiple devices, if you're signed in on this app on all devices, you'll just have the same exact access to those resources. So to give you a little overview of what that kind of looks like, I have a few videos here going into the console. If you've used AirWatch before and tried to manage Mac apps, it went into a completely different section than this one that's showing on the video here. So that was one of the biggest things. We wanted to move it and unify it with the rest of the platforms in something called internal applications. So in this demo, I'm uploading a RSA Secure ID package, and basically this is a common view for all platforms. So we discover what the package file type is, and then kind of send it on its way in the macOS flow. But uploading a package installer is not everything. Monkey relies on a lot more metadata to understand how to update the package, how to install the package, if any of those scripts need to run, etc. So the package info file is really important for Monkey to run. But for people that don't know Monkey or don't know how to use it or never heard of that, they're not going to know how to generate this. So what we've done is we've created a GUI wrapper called the VMware AirWatch Admin Assistant, and that's just a wrapper for Monkey import. And it's doing a default Monkey import, trying to extract the icons, create a default package info file, and then it spits it out in a repository for the user to upload to the console. And we definitely want to add more to this wrapper because, for example, if you've got a package where they don't update the receipt and it's just 0.0, you're going to have to make some manual modifications to the file to make sure everything works. So we want to be a little more proactive about that in our tool to help people that aren't familiar with these kind of nuances of these weird packages. So once you have that file generated, whether you get it from AutoPackage or somewhere else, you can upload it to the console. And all we're doing here in the console is we're parsing what's in that file. And then if you want to make modifications on top of that with those keys that I mentioned that we have supported, we'll just reinsert those back in. So the key point to mention is that if you want to use keys that we don't yet support in our console, such as the requires key, you can put those in the package info, and we're not going to modify that. It's still going to go down to the device. So over time, we want to add to this UI and essentially expose all the different keys that package info has, and to create that kind of GUI experience. So once you do your configuration, assign it to a smart group, set the deployment parameters. There also is a little bit of reporting on the console as well that you can click inside the app, see the devices that are assigned to it, see insights into the deployment, who's installed it, who's not, what versions are people on, and so that's kind of the look of the console. So onto the client side, it's all about the apps. We have a lot of different types of apps these days with virtual apps, SaaS apps, internal websites. Then you have your App Store apps, your native apps. We wanted to have a catalog that brought all of these together. And so that was part of the reason why we moved away from Managed Software Center and built the Workspace ONE native app. And so all of these have come together to form into this app. And I wanted to show you that real quick. So when you launch the app, it uses single sign-on based on MDM profile and the certificates that are pushed down to get access to all the resources that are assigned to you. And you'll be presented with the catalog view. And so if you have for example, like Dropbox is a SaaS app, we'll single sign you on into that if you have that. Or if you have, say, an internal website, we'll leverage the tunnel or VPN that you're using to get the user access to the intranet. Going a little fast. Or, for example, if you have a Windows app that only runs on Windows, such as Visio, you don't want to give the user a virtual machine just for that one app. So we'll leverage VMware Horizon technology to render that application, throw it in the dock, kind of make it look exactly like a Mac app. So that's something that's really cool. But this is something that Workspace ONE has always provided for the past few years. And so when we brought in the Monkey integration, we needed to add in these native apps. So the first thing we wanted to focus on in this first version was the download and install progress. So we've added this tray to give those insights because our existing catalog solution didn't have that. It was just a web view where you click it and hope everything goes well. So now we have these insights, but we need to continue adding to this to make sure that it captures all the different features that Managed Software Center has provided, such as the notifications and alerts. So this is the first version, and we're going to continue to iterate upon that. Now, I wanted to close by giving a shout out to VMware Code. This is our new Developer Central portal where we're putting a lot of samples and technical documentation that might not fit right into the product documentation. We're really hoping that people that are using our REST APIs to extend the platform, to extend beyond what MDM can do, to go in here. I know there's a lot of projects that are kind of currently in the works right now. Jeremy Baker has been working on some event-driven notification systems in his workflows. He's also working on auto package integration so that people can continue using auto package and pipe those packages up to the console. And I think maybe you guys have heard Eric Gomez has done something cool. He's calling CMDM, where he's using Chef. Instead of having Chef silo those profiles, he's using one of our APIs to essentially kind of do an MDM pass-through to install his profiles. So there's a lot of different integrations you can do. We really try to build all of our features with rich APIs because we know that MDM doesn't have it all yet, and these layered services are really important to have. And so this conference is something I wanted to really make sure I touched on that because you guys are the creators, you're the innovators. You guys have built so many different cool tools that have extended what MDM can do. And so having developer central portals, whether you use AirWatch or someone else, it's really important to make sure we have this community growing and fostering. So I'm excited I'm here because all of you guys are way smarter than I am, and you can build all these amazing things. And so I want to hear more from you all. What are the challenges you're currently facing? What can I do as an MDM vendor to maybe pressure Apple to try to add things to MDM, or how can we make our product in a way that's flexible and usable by you all? So I definitely want to talk to all of you guys. If it's any consolation, I do have actually some free VMware Fusion 10 Pro license codes. Please don't tackle me. I have some stickers, Fusion stickers if I run out of those. Thanks for your time, y'all, and happy to meet you all, and have a great conference.
Thanks so much, John.